Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the Aloha Friday Real Estate Show. It is February 20th, 2006, and we're currently warming up the internets and going live. I'm going to bring in my friends here. We will get started at the top of the hour, but wanted to bring in Mike Farrell from Maui. You guys have seen him on the last few shows. Thanks for joining us again, Mike. And then Andrew Metriaco, who's here on the Big Island and is a regular contributor to our lifestyle shows and first time contributor to our live show. So thanks again for joining us. How's everything going over on Maui, Mike? What's the weather like over there today?
How's the weather? It's sunny, it's warm, it's 80, it's gonna be 82, just like every single day. We don't have the trade winds yet, so it is a beautiful Aloha Friday. No, it's so funny. I've lived here for 6 years, right? And every time I talk to my family back on the mainland, they're, hey, what's the weather today? I don't check the weather. It's the same thing literally 98% of the time. 82 plus or minus a few, sunny. Trade winds will come in sometime in the afternoon.
Best part, man. Yes, absolutely. Always consistent. And how's it going on the Big Island, Angie?
It's good. Same here with the weather. Hawaii folks don't have we don't get to just make small talk about the weather, right? Because it never changes. But Big Island, we are seeing foggy days. We had an eruption this week, so it is a little foggy, but it's still beautiful in Kona.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. We had some pretty crazy episodes recently. The last few have been pretty major. So yeah, all right. So we are actually right at the top of the hour. Let's get rolling here. Let me get my slides up and going. All right. There we go. All right, guys. So yeah, as I said, welcome to the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. This is an Ask Anything show. So if you got anything that you want to ask, go ahead and put it in the chat on whatever platform you're watching from, and we'll address those things. We always got some pre-planned content for you guys that we'll talk about. And there is Ronnie right on time from Kauai. How's it going, Ronnie?
Awesome.
How's the weather on Kauai? We just got the weather report from the Big Island and Maui, but we're probably
my wife was telling someone down at the pool as we were walking back from the gym this morning, this is a sunny day for February, which means it's partly cloudy, partly sunny. But still, they were visiting their dad from Minnesota, so 73 degrees, not too shabby.
And how is a sunny day in February different than a sunny day in like September?
15 degrees, a lower dew point, and delicious.
That's a great answer. It's very, very specific. I love it. All right. Well, let's get right into it, guys. The first thing, I got a big announcement for everybody and all of the viewers is that we have totally revamped and rebuilt livinginhawaii.com. So most of you find your way here through our newsletter. And if not, go to livinginhawaii.com. There's a pop-up. It'll ask you to sign in. But the website has pretty much been the same for like 10 years. And we spent the last like 3 months rebuilding the layout, rebuilding the content. And so would love your feedback on user interface and the content on there. If there's anything that you would like to see, always let us know. We're always creating content that will help you figure out the best way to make the move here, to make the transition, to assimilate. And then once you're here, there's all kinds of different lifestyle and just community information about all of the different islands and all of the different communities. So check out livinginhawaii.com if you haven't, and would love your guys' feedback on the new layout and the new website look. If you've been on the newsletter, you see that the newsletter has also been updated with the new logo and branding. So we're excited about that and looking forward to continuing to build on that and make it the number one place on the internet for information, all things information about Hawaii, not just moving here, but also living here. So check it out. All right, so we're going to get right into, like we always do, our news updates. And so a couple of things we were talking about in the pre-show, the eruption that continues to happen at Kilauea, and it seems like once every 2 weeks or so we have a pretty major eruption. And Angie was talking about that anytime that happens, if you're on the Kona side of the island, you get VOG, and so that's how we know that the volcano is going off, is that the VOG is over on the west side. But for the most part, that's been a constant since 1983 for us. So it's not nothing new, and it's just part of living on the west side. And it's funny how much the other neighbor islanders complain about it when the winds blow the opposite way and they get it. So it's like, they always cry us a river when they get the fog, but we get it pretty much all of the time, 99% of the time when the trade winds are being consistent. Couple other things, there's some new electric trams at the Honolulu airport. So if you've ever been to the Honolulu airport, the way you get in between the terminals is there's a tram system at the like the second level, and it's open air and outdoors. And we've had these old funky trams for like forever. So it's cool that there's an upgrade coming, and they're going to be eco-friendly and be electric. So check those out next time you're going in between terminals at the Honolulu airport. And then the big news story, which is definitely going to impact everybody and is always a really big topic of discussion amongst people that are living here or looking to move here, is healthcare. And there's currently a clash of the titans going on. And so I wanted to get some feedback from the crew on, just in general, what do you think about healthcare in Hawaii? What do you think about this new change and this consolidation? And is it going to make things better? Is it going to make things worse? And what is your take on all of this? So who wants to go first? Anybody wants to jump in on healthcare, comment on this?
Well, I'll comment and say that I'm not even sure what the Clash of the Titans is, but I'm not sure anything is really going to upgrade the healthcare on the neighbor islands. What happens in the city happens in the city. I like how Paul Breaker always says, keep the city, keep the country. And we, the neighbor islands are a lot more rural. And it's a challenge having good doctors, having good specialists. And a lot of it has to do with the cost of living versus what a doctor can make on the mainland. So I don't care who merges with who and who does whatever. I just think, when I think about what's really important for people to understand when they come here, is that you're not going to get the kind of health care on the neighbor islands that you get in Manhattan and Minneapolis and Seattle and Beverly Hills, etc. So maybe not directly answering your question, but you did say, what do I think about the state of health care? And so, and I'm the one of this group that probably is more likely to need it than others, but you never know.
Well, you recently experienced some firsthand experience with the healthcare system, and what was your experience? I mean, was it positive in general? Was it satisfactory?
Well, that gets more into a mindset about lifestyle, And when I think about, the book I'm working on, 24 Things You Need to Know Before Moving to Hawaii, I look at allopathic medicine, the kind of medicine that was super great when I got bilateral knee replacements. And I think about naturopathic medicine and all the healers and acupuncture and chiropractor and nutritionists. And I would say that we're pretty rich on that side and not as wealthy on the allopathic side. I mean, we don't even have a catheterization capability on Kauai. So if you need some sort of heart thing, you're being medevaced over to Oahu. My experience of the hospital here, being that I said that, was the amount of aloha and care and attention I got was amazing. The quality of food that I got was totally the other end of the spectrum and made me wonder, how could people ever possibly get healthy eating this stuff? And, so, I mean, I think I have confidence in it. It's competent. But like, you go and do a CT scan, there's nobody here, that's going to interpret it. They're telemedicine with someone in Tennessee who's an expert that's going to read it. Yeah. And that's okay. But anyway, I think the bottom line to your question, I think I'm being too long-winded this morning, Dylan, is that you're going to get a lot of aloha, and, in terms of the quality of the practitioner, well, that's the same, it varies from individual to individual.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's an indirect price of paradise, right? Is that one of the things you got to sacrifice is not having access to that really high tech.
Well, yeah, and it's it's juxtaposed to, the longevity factor for people that live in the islands, which is on the, top of the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Andrew, what do you think about this? I know you read the news article and you had some thoughts on and just to give everybody some background, this is really about consolidation where the Queen's Health care system, which is the biggest private healthcare system, is and that's one of the things in general about Hawaii is there's not that many providers, right? There's like Kaiser and there's HMSA and there's not that many insurance providers, which limits competition, but there's going to be some additional consolidation and kind of vertical integration of services, which I guess if my take on it is right, the Queen system is going to become more like the Kaiser system, right? It's basically what's happening.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it. And I have, I've lived here for almost 25 years, and I've had some. I think Ronnie is super spry too. I don't think that age is just a number. I've had some pretty major healthcare issues here while I was a Hawaii resident. And I think I always have looked at it as, we're in a rural area. We're the most isolated landmass on the planet. So you kind of wrap your head around having to travel for really complicated stuff anyway, just like you would in rural parts of the mainland. Like I grew up in rural Texas, and you were certainly like a 6 to 8 hour drive from where I grew up from MD Anderson, to get like really specialized care. So I kind of look at it like that, like, you might have to get on a 5-hour plane ride to get really state-of-the-art care, but we live a healthier lifestyle here. So it's kind of a trade-off I'm willing to make. I never really feel positive about when I hear the words consolidation in a market, but I'm trying to be more open-minded about it. I do like that they're trying to think of solutions because we definitely need those. Insurance across the board is getting more expensive. So any way we can save money on that is always beneficial. If they truly roll the savings into preventative care, then I'm all for it. I just want to see that actually play out like they say that's going to play out.
That's definitely the case. And I know Mike's definitely somewhat of an expert in this area is preventative care, and taking personal responsibility over your health can really prevent 90% of the issues that you need. And that's got to be part of your kind of mindset when you live here, right, Mike?
We're grown adults, right? You have responsibilities to take care of yourself. I don't have a lot of experience speaking on healthcare or health insurance or doctors for that fact. The last time I went to a doctor's office was 10 and a half years ago. And the only reason I went to the doctor is because I knew in 6 months I was going to lose health insurance. I was getting dropped from my dad's health insurance plan. So the summer before I turned 26, went to the doctor, got blood work done. Nothing was wrong. I knew nothing was wrong, but I went just in case there was some underlying stuff. Okay. Now, I'm also not getting on here advocating saying you never need to go to the doctor. I am 36. I'm not young. I'm not old. Preventative. What the article was talking about is if they merge, some of those cost savings can then be spread and allocated to preventative measures, which in the long run, things like early screening or gym memberships or nutrition counseling. Those things, if we can build those foundations, there's lots of data that shows that if you put more money into that, the long-term expense decreases, or the how sick you get later on decreases. So if they really do pass that cost savings on to the preventative stuff, I think in the long run, 5, 10, 15 years, you will see overall healthcare costs go down. Now, when we talk about Maui, everybody's talked about us being super rural, right? And that is a reality. If you're thinking of moving to Maui permanently, or even for 6-8 months out of the year, you do really need to look at your health and what your specific situation is in. If you've got some really serious underlying health concerns, just know that you're at least getting medevac to Oahu. Right. That's your best bet. But remember, you're 5.5, 6 hours from California. So if there's some serious event, that's a consideration you really do need to take into account for. Like, you don't get to just drive a 30-minute drive and you're okay. Like, you're a lot of time away.
Yeah. It's always a consideration, always a debate here in the islands for sure. And I'm sure this is not the end of it. So more to come on healthcare in the islands. But let's
now
shift. Go ahead.
If sorry to interrupt, but I have one more comment to make.
Yep.
If this merger does happen, okay, that usually isn't a good thing. But if we have the merger happen and they're able to pass some of that cost savings on to preventative health or attracting more healthcare workers to the islands or more specialized doctors, workers, that I think could also be a good thing in the long run. But will that be the reality? I guess we will find out.
One, and I do know one of the biggest, I have some close family friends that are in the medical industry, and one of the biggest deterrents for doctors, especially young ones nowadays, is the cost of malpractice insurance. Like that is through the roof, and that's somewhat regulated. There's some state regulations that go into that, and that's one of the disincentives of coming here, is that can be a humongous fixed cost for a doctor. And like Ronnie said in the beginning, you can make more money somewhere else with a lower cost of living and lower overhead, and even the employment aspects of being, doctors that run a practice that have to employ people. The employment laws in Hawaii are very anti-business owner, and you're essentially a business owner if you're a doctor running a private practice, and so that also contributes. I mean, we got lots of issues when it comes to healthcare. So let's talk about something we actually know about, and let's talk about real estate. Because we're not going to solve the healthcare issue right now. So let's get into the market update. We'll jump around the islands and start over on Maui. We got lots of data here. Mike likes a lot of data. Give us the summary, Mike, on what's going on with the market over on Maui. Because I think from the last show, it was very clear, across the board, that we're starting the year off pretty slow on all the islands. But has there been any change over on Maui?
So actually, yeah. So if we look at on Maui, we're going to look at single family. If we look at the new listings, right? New listings in January, single family. If we look at 2024, right? We had 109 new listings in January of 24. Then in 2025, we had 106. Now this year we've gotten 115. So we're up just a little bit in new listings. Condos has fluctuated a little bit. 2024, there was 151 new condos brought to the market. In 25, there was 168. And this year, there's been 144 new condos last month. But if we look at days on market, right, this is where it's going to be an indicator for showing that it's a strong buyer's market here in Maui. Single family 2024, 115 days on market, 25, 121 days. Here we are in 2026. Single family is now on the market for 186 days. So we're seeing stuff sit longer. Same with condos. We had back in 2024, condos were only on the market for an average of 77 days. This year, they're 166 days on market.
That's a crazy increase. Yeah.
And that all ties back with the condo market. That's all going to tie back to Bill 9 here. I won't take too much time talking about Bill 9, but they passed it last December, which is set to phase out about 6,400 vacation rental condo units here on Maui. We could probably have a whole segment of an entire show to really break that down. Just know that is really breaking down the condo market in here. So we go in literally 2 years, we go from 77 days on market to 166 days. That's 90 days longer.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say what was that one? Oh, inventory. This is the last metric I want to share with you for both condos and single family. So inventory for single family in January of 24, there was 243 single family homes. Then in 2025, it went to 413. This year, we're at 457. Okay, so we're seeing more homes inventory on the market. Listen to these stats for condos, though. 2024, we had 386 units on the market in January. In 2025, that number jumped to 816 units. And then 2026, we are at 923 condos on the island. Again, that Bill 9 is really, really caused some panic in the condo market. So we're seeing a lot of owners try to sell. Here's my thing when I talk to people or investors all of the time. They want to know is investing in Maui in a condo right now a smart idea? And my very simple answer is, what's your criteria? Because that's going to determine my answer. And how risk adverse are you? Or, without trying to get too in depth, or we say, hey, if you don't have a lot of risk, but you still want to invest in here and you don't care about generating a lot of ROI, we look at hotel zone condos. So the Bill 9 was affecting condos that are hotel zoned versus apartment zoned. The hotel zone ones are okay. Some of the apartment ones are potentially going to get phased out. The hotel zoned ones, the ones that are protected, that aren't in any scrutiny, those are dropping in price too. You would think that those would either maintain or elevate, but the whole condo market as a whole is getting downward pressure. So again, if you're either a risk savvy investor, or you can see that the prices are going down, days on market's going up, inventory's high, buyer's market, jump in and look at some hotel zone condos here on Maui.
The interesting thing, looking at this is, you make a good point that Bill 9 really affects one segment of the condo market, but it seems like just the sentiment has spread across all segments, because even single family home market is down, right? I mean, the number of closed sales is down versus what is it? I don't have the 2024 number. I don't know if you have that handy, but we're down year over year 11-12% on the single family home selling. And you would think that, if less condos are selling, more single family homes would sell, but really across the board, the market is slow.
I think it also is showing that single family really hasn't dipped in median price.
I mean, we're up. Yeah, median price is up 20% over last year, and for single family homes. So yeah, prices are going up, but then the number of sales is not. It's a crazy dynamic right now.
So yeah, it's a crazy dynamic. That sums it up.
Well, let's see what else is going on. So Ronnie, what do we got happening on Kauai? So these are our two smallest markets, right? Maui and Kauai are kind of, it's weird because Maui has like 3 times more people than Kauai, but really they only have about little more than half of about 50% more sales than Maui. So from a number of sales standpoint, Maui and Kauai are similar, even though the populations are vastly different. But what do we got going on on Kauai, Ronnie?
We are the tiniest island with
the
smallest amount of transactions. So lots of time for pickleball, golf. If you sell real estate on Kauai, there's a lot of time. You can do community service. We have a lot of that. Go to the next slide, because the print on that one's too small. But you can see just kind of a market update there, the number of listings at the bottom, how many of them are active listings, and how many properties are currently under contract. And inventory is still in this slow build process. Go to the next slide, please. And this is the fun one. You can see how many condos there are for sale. And if you zoom your screen in, because my text is not YouTube friendly or StreamYard friendly. This is 9.7 months of inventory, right? It's the same story as Maui, and we don't have a Bill 9. We have a county that's really unlikely to move, tighten the direction on vacation rentals, even though we have housing challenges too in terms of affordability, because they generate too much income. Our tax rates are tiered now. So if you have a multi-million-dollar condo, you pay one rate up to 1.2 million in value, another rate up to 2 million in value, another rate up to 3 million. So, you go from living here as a permanent resident paying $2.59 a thousand to over $13 a thousand when you have one of these vacation rentals. And that's the trend here. But overall, it's 9.7 months of inventory. And if you look at the resort markets where our vacation rentals are, you have about 13 months of inventory. So similar, when you're buying into this market, you have lots of leverage. and lots of negotiating power. And when we work with a realtor, with a seller, it's a different conversation. It's like, do you want to be in the market or on the market? Because a lot of sellers think it's still 2022, but I can tell you from these numbers.
What did you do as a definition, Ronnie? What does that mean? What does in the market versus on the market mean?
In the market is that you have a trusted advisor who, tells you where your property needs to be to sell. Because if you listen to me, you're going to sell it. I'd much rather do that and have that frank conversation out front rather than you think it's worth 50 more. And then I got to apologize to you every 2 weeks when I ask you to lower the price because it hasn't sold. So that's what I mean.
I love it. Love it. Good advice.
I did a screenshot while you were looking at the Maui market. And if you bring up that next slide, this will kind of tell you everything you need. Is that the next slide?
I think I might have to refresh. Hold on. Get to talking about it. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, I like to do things in real time here. Nothing like
all right.
Keeping
Here we go. Yeah, keeping me on my toes here. There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
Magic of the internet's right there.
There you go. I made that screenshot large enough. So it's February 20th. You may be watching this show live. You may be watching it in April. Who knows when you're watching it, but thank you for joining us. At the top number, you can see compared to February of last year, there were 61 transactions in a month, which is not robust. Now we still have business days, 6 business days or 6 more business days, including today in February. So the number will go up, but 27 sales for the month. That ain't much. I showed you how many condos were for sale. It's 187. And 6 of them sold in February. So
that's rough.
Yeah. So, basically it's a buyer's market. There's not much more to say. And America is kind of divided. There's plenty of places where there's a buyer's market and there's plenty of places where it's a seller's market or it's a more neutral market. So it really depends where you are. And I was watching a webinar yesterday that I thought was really intriguing because it was showing the perspective of what it means when you own a real estate asset. And when you think about the amount of people that don't want to move because they have a loan at 3%, and you look at the equity they have, and they can use that equity to go to a much bigger house because now they had a 3rd child. And when you look at the cost of maintaining at the 3%, it's actually it's not much of a compromise. But people aren't fixated on the kind of total life impact. They're fixated on, I don't want to let go of 3 without really thinking through the process. So if you're a buyer you're watching this show, call one of us because we can explain what I just said.
I love it. This is good. Lots of detail, guys. This is the best market update you're going to get anywhere on the interwebs when it comes to Hawaii real estate. So let's go over to the Big Island now. And Angie's got it broken down by residential, condo, and land. So we'll start off with residential.
Thanks, Dylan. And you can jump in too. I know you have a lot to add on Big Island market since you're here as well. But I'm an appraiser, so I like to keep things really simple and just look at really major changes and shifts. And I really love the yearly review that we're coming out of for 2025. But I was kind of surprised to see such a big decline in the residential market in the number of sales from 172 to 154. I definitely take note of anything over 5%, and that's 10% for the entire market. I did a kind of a research on that and saw that North Kona, where Dylan and I are, it was a 35% decrease for our district, 39 sales to 25. So kind of following on the statewide numbers as well. That was surprising. Our condos, surprisingly, vacant land, really speculative here. We saw over 20% increase in the number of sales of vacant land. I don't hold a lot of weight on vacant land sales on the Big Island because our median sale price was $40,000 in 25 for vacant land and $47,000 this year. You can't even get a vacant plot of land on Oahu, right? When we do land costs for replacement costs, we do like extraction and stuff. So I don't put a lot of weight in there in that number because it's so speculative here and there's such a big range. But I did note that we had a 5% increase in number of sales for condos, which is kind of not what we're seeing.
It bucks the trend of what Ronnie and Mike are talking about, right? In still condo sales. Yeah.
Totally. We did see a decrease in the median sales price of condos, but kind of low numbers to put a lot of stock in it. I mean, it's upwards of 9.5% for median sales price from January 26 to January 25. But, again, appraiser, I like big picture stats more. And we're kind of basing it on sales in the 39 to 41 number of sales range. So I kind of take it with a grain of salt, I guess. I did note that overall, when you look at residential sales, we are kind of moving to a buyer's market. Like we're really on the cusp with 6 months of inventory. And I think agents that we talk to anecdotally are seeing that in our negotiations. And what do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think across the board on definitely all of the islands, even though it's not technically by the math of buyer's market in some segments, it definitely feels like one. I mean, that's how buyers are behaving. I can't tell you how many deals we're dealing with in the last week where buyers are very just afraid, apprehensive, spooked by kind of everything. And the message for sellers is in these cases is you got to understand that you got to empathize with that when you're on the sell side. And really, if you're motivated to sell and you need to sell, you really got to be in a place to negotiate and to work with and make concessions, because it's a very let me get some feedback from all of you guys. I mean, don't you feel like just buyers in general are more apprehensive, even if they are buying, they're in the market, they need to buy, but there's a lot more apprehension now than there has been in the past, it feels like.
I definitely feel like that. At the same time, the buyers that I feel are going for it are getting such great negotiations. Like I feel like they have a lot of negotiating power. I closed on a sale today. The list price was 1.49 and we closed at 1.3. And I feel like that would have been unheard of, That's
like a $200K discount. Oh, it's crazy.
And they started at 155, almost 1.6, so.
Yeah. Well, that's a good takeaway too, is you don't have to get scared by the sticker price right now, because there's a lot of room, and we're definitely seeing that. I mean, even if you look at your data here, and maybe Mike and Ronnie, you can chime in, like the final list of sold price in the residential market's 91%. So I mean, almost a 10% discount. In the condo market, it's 95.5, so 4.5% discount. And land, it's 82, which land is weird and kind of random sometimes. We can't put too much, and that's why it's good that Angie broke these out separately, because a lot of times if you add them all together, you can be like, oh, it's 87% or whatever when you average all the different market segments out, when really you got to look specifically at whether it's residential, whether it's condo, and then also where on the island it is, because that definitely makes a big difference if you're in one of the more rural areas or one of the more high demand areas. So
that's a good point too, because we saw a 10% decrease in number of sales just for North Kona district on our island. And then we have the Puna district and Hilo. Hilo's getting a little higher price now, but Puna district, which is a ton of our number of sales for the year, comes in at like 500,000. So It kind of skews our numbers, and that's why I kind of really like to hone in on what's going on in North Kona, because we have a way higher sales price, median sales price there.
Yeah, just makes the point that the importance of making sure you're talking to an expert in the area that you're looking, because even on all the islands are diverse in terms of west side, east side, north side, south side, and there's all kinds of little micro markets in between. So anything else, Ronnie, Mike, to add on the market? Any other takeaways before we move on?
It's if you are serious about buying, Maui is a great option right now for a buyer's market. We've got
that's definitely the headline. If there's any headline, is Maui is on sale right now, right? That's the headline.
Maui is on sale. I'm going to use that for some social media taglines. Condos, we have 15.8 months of supply, very strong buyer's market, and then single family right now we've got 7.9 months of supply. So
you're
definitely come by in Maui.
Yeah, definitely buyer's market for both. Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, Ronnie, what you got?
I got a kitchen renovation going on with some very loud noise, so forgive me for my slow response time. I hope mostly my buyers are watching this show. So I can tell you, if you see something like be aggressive, that's just your opening volley. And you never know what the seller's motivation is. That's what I say. I mean, you're hearing the same thing from Maui and Kauai. And I think Oahu is a different market, that's got some different dynamics going on because you got, it's more of an urban market. It's not just absentee owners. And that's what I'd say. I do think, though, that, the state of the world is creating a sense of hesitation for many people. Because I'm starting to see the under $1 million houses, and I know it's kind of awkward or silly to say under $1 million on Kauai is affordable, and we're selling them to younger families or, multi-generational families. I just closed on one today for $910,000, and it took like 5 different people on and off the loans to afford it. A lot of those houses are sitting on the market 4 more days. So just reinforcing the message that it's a buyer's market. And if someone needs to sell, it's a good time. And if they don't need to sell, they're just going to sit and let their listing expire and, wait for the interest rates to go down, I suppose, when and if they do.
Which it doesn't look like, and this is bigger macroeconomic market news, is if anybody, this is more nerdy data, but if anybody watches like real estate stocks, right, and I watch real estate company stocks, they all went down over the last week after the new jobs report came out, and the jobs report came out stronger than expected, which is something that signals the Fed to not need to lower interest rates, because if the economy is doing well and we're creating jobs, then they can keep interest rates where they are. And that basically tells investors that the market is going to stay similar to what it is, because if interest rates still go down, that's the most simple indicator to what the real estate market's going to do, which then tells investors real estate companies aren't going to make any more money than they made in the past. And so then they pull back on investing in real estate companies. So there's like this trickle down effect and all of these different things that are happening. But definitely it's a interesting time. Everybody keeps thinking that there's going to be some big shift or change, but I've been telling folks, my take on it is that this year is probably going to be very similar to last year, and last year was very similar to the year before. And so we're kind of in this doldrums period of stability, which I think anybody who's been in this industry for a while is actually happy with, like, because there was so much instability in the beginning of this decade, that I think some stability in the middle is probably going to be a good thing for everybody. And like Ronnie's saying, yes, 900,000 seems crazy, but when you live in Hawaii, that is somewhat of the most affordable, if you're on Kauai, house you're going to get. And before, if it was 800,000 or 900,000, it would sell with 10 offers in the first day, and that's just not happening anymore. So it's an overall indicator of what's going on in the market. So cool. Okay, let's move. We got one viewer question. And again, if you're watching, guys, and you want to ask a question, just put it in the comments. We'll take that question live. If not, we go to our pre-submitted questions. So this is a question we talk about a lot, is why are so many homes built without AC, and is solar really necessary? So let's kind of take these one at a time, but who wants to kick us off? Ron, you want to kick us off with, why are so many homes in Hawaii built without AC? It's
called the trade winds. I think that's as simple as it gets. I've only been here 20 years, so my perspective is kind of short in terms of people that are born and raised here and been here all their lives. I have experienced global warming. It gets much hotter. I moved from California, where we have kind of an Indian summer, a late warm period, And we have something similar here. September and October can get pretty warm. We have more humidity. We get the Kona winds. The dew point rises. And if you want to be comfortable, you get an air conditioner. So there's more air conditioning now than there has been. But even in general, even in multi-million-dollar homes, you may not see central air conditioning, which is very common. You know, we get buyers from Southern California, buyers from Arizona, where it's really hot. And it doesn't ever get really hot here. So I think that's pretty much it. And in terms of solar, I think the entire island chain is a good candidate for solar. And so it really depends where you are, what you want, sort of sustainability minded, and also economically. I find for myself, I had a solar system in the home that we sold and moved from, and it wasn't a good investment. It cost a lot of money and didn't save that much. Here on Kauai, we have Kauai Island Utility Cooperative. So it's a co-op owned by the residents of the island. And we have the most expensive electricity, I believe, in the 50 states. And so that's, you know, it's a cost. And when you first got in, when solar was new 20, 25 years ago, you could get it back from the electric company at kind of a wholesale rate. But as more and more systems filled the grid, that amount changed. And so it's really a judgment call. It seems like the most effective thing, and it's probably everywhere, although I'm not an expert in that field, are Tesla batteries. Some sort of uninterruptible backup that goes to work, because I don't know about all your other islands, but power goes out here fairly regularly. It's not that uncommon. And so there's a benefit other than solar, you know, in terms of not losing your power, especially if you work on the internet.
Yes, I would agree that I have solar on my house too, and I'm not impressed by it. So they always want to put more, and it's like, well, then you used to charge me more for the lease, and you know, so I'm not going to get into my grievances about solar. But let's go back to AC. I think definitely Angie can share on the Big Island. I would say it's very dependent on where you live, right? At what elevation. Would you agree with that in terms of whether or not you need AC, or whether or not you know, you should consider building a home with AC?
Yeah, totally. I live at highway elevation at Malka, you know, over 1,000 feet. And I think that's kind of a rule of thumb for needing AC. It's, you know, cool and nice here. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt with the windows open and screen doors, and it's chilly almost, you know. So, but if you are at sea level, you're going to see more of a need for it. We do have older homes here too. And I think that the demand for AC has changed. And then that's also been impacted by photovoltaic becoming just commonplace. So I think the UHERO said our average age of dwelling in the state is 35 years old. Not super great number. I do think just from an appraisal standpoint, we see a lot of older homes here. And I think the newer homes, or especially if they're in a location that's lower elevation, are more likely to have AC, and people are more likely to do that with photovoltaic because of the cost savings. I think we're at like 44 cents a kilowatt in Hawaii. So it's the highest in the nation. You know, I always think that that's a cost benefit analysis that you could make on whether or not it's worth it. I think the leases have really varied. You guys may be able to speak more on that. And what you get out of a solar lease or a photovoltaic lease compared to buying outright when when all is said and done. It's kind of weighing your options and knowing the market. And I'm kind of interested to see how the market shifts coming out of this year as well, you know, with pricing and stuff.
It's ever, yeah, like Ronnie said, it's ever changing, right? The deal with the power companies and the type of incentives that we get is ever changing. So it's really, you got to evaluate at that point in time whether or not it makes economic sense to put solar on your house. Anything to add to this, Mike, on Maui? Maui's got elevation too, so a lot of times I think that they benefit. Hawaii doesn't have as much elevation in terms of changing the temperature, but Maui definitely does.
Yeah, it's going to be dependent on where your property is, where you live, right? The top of Haleakala is like 10,016 feet. I'm at 0 feet right here, so there's going to be a very vast degree of.
So do you have air conditioning in your house?
We have split. Yes, we have a split AC system. Yeah, because we're literally 150 yards from the ocean, so I definitely need it down here. But I know quite a few people that live up on Haleakala Mountain. We call that up country, and they have heaters or fireplaces. They don't have ACs because they don't need it.
Yeah.
But interesting story. When I first moved here, my mom asked me. She's like, "Honey, do you have a heater in your house?" I don't know. Let me go look at this split AC thing. I don't even know. I've never seen a split AC. So what is this? Looking at the remote, looking at the thing. And I'm like, yeah, there's no option for heat. I don't have a heater down here.
Yeah, that's definitely something homes are not built with is heaters. So you don't ever have to worry about that. Hey, we got a quick question. Oh, go ahead.
I always laugh when I walk into houses and they have fireplaces.
Yes.
I always think that's kind of cute.
My mom and stepdad live in Volcano, right across from the park, and it gets pretty cold there. And they do have a wood burning fireplace, and it's pretty cool because every time I go there, it's like you can smell it. And actually been helping them chop wood. I never did that really before, and I did that last time I visited them because they're getting older, and so they're I said, can I help with anything? And they're like, you chop wood, so I was chopping kindling for them. It was a fun workout. But yeah, there are a few homes that do have fireplaces in them, but even fewer that use it. I mean, I've seen plenty of homes that have them and then they never get used versus the ones that actually use them. So sometimes if you're high enough, and I think they're at like 4,000 feet of elevation, so it gets pretty cool. Definitely our time up there. So all right, let's take this question real quick and then we'll get into our final segments here. So reflections on Chiran asks, we are moving to the Big Island in April, but we're having difficulty navigating using Matson to ship. Do most people use a freight forwarder? What is the best way to ship household goods?
I have my first answer. Well, I did answer them in the chat with a couple of alternatives.
Yeah,
it depends how much stuff you're moving from. But if I had that question, what I would do is open the AI of my choice. And I would say, and I don't know your situation, my wife and I and my 2 kids live in Detroit, Michigan. And we're planning to move to, name the city, in the Big Island in February, in October. Can you tell me what the options are for moving my goods there? And the 5 most important questions for me to ask the company that's going to be moving it, and also references for those companies, if you can point me to some Google reviews.
There you go. That'll probably be the best answer you can get, right? That's your AI coaching tip for the day. I love it.
Yeah, Ronnie, thank you for that. When my wife and I moved here in beginning of 2020, AI really ChatGPT wasn't a thing, so I didn't have that prompt, and I cannot tell you how many hours I spent reading reviews, looking at here in Maui, it's Matson and Royal Hawaiian Movers. And I'll just piggyback with what everybody said. For us, it came down to the decision of how much stuff we actually had. At the time, the options were to either rent a really big container, like we definitely don't have that much, and I don't remember the cost. But the second option was to split a container with somebody, whoever also has stuff to move. And it was about 10 grand for that. Well, we lived in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and I was really looking at this, like, babe, we really don't have that much stuff. It's going to cost us more to ship all this stuff here than to A, either look for a furnished place, or B, just buy it here on the island.
I want to just amplify on that, and I know that you're asking this question because it sounds like you've been having a dialogue with Matson, and like many big companies, some of them have good service and some of them are just so. But our friends who moved here in 2001 said, do not bring anything. Do not. You can get everything here. We have stores, and I'm sure they have them on the Big Island, that recycle the stuff from the Four Seasons and the Marriotts and the Hyatts. And, my wife has furnished a luxury vacation rental for under $5,000 with that kind of high quality furniture. But I thought, okay, yeah, we're going to get rid of stuff, sell it on Craigslist, which was a lot more reliable 20 years ago. And, that translated into 11,000 pounds in a container. And when Royal Hawaiian Movers was unloading the truck, when they were 1/3 unloaded, I looked at my wife and I said, "What the fuck were we thinking? Oh my God!" So that I think I know you need to find a shipper, but keep that in mind because I've never worn a suit since I've been here. I know that.
The other thing for us that was a big factor, one, cost versus how much stuff we had or didn't have, was I am not kidding when I said I spent hours and hours and hours reading reviews, and all of the common factor in the review was, yeah, we shipped our stuff, it took longer than expected, and half of our stuff was broken. And then they were saying that even if you purchase the insurance, they're replacing pennies on the dollar. So great, I paid you all this money to ship my stuff. You broke half of my things, and now you're giving me 30% of what the value is. So yeah, just buy it here.
Like it. Yeah, the only thing I would add to this, and we're gonna move on here to our featured properties, is that a lot of times the freight forwarders are built for customer service. The big companies are built just to move your stuff. So if you want somebody to kind of walk you through the process and help you coordinate movers and people that'll pack you up and stuff, you definitely want to use a freight forwarder and contract it out, because pretty much all the moving companies contract with the same big shipping companies. We don't have, that's definitely like healthcare. That's a monopoly here, is shipping. So you don't have there's not a lot of shopping around to do. The cost is going to be the cost, and whatever they want to charge you is what you're going to pay. So anything to add on this, Angie, before we move on?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to our diamonds and deals here. Let's see who's up next. We always pick a property that's either new or existing on the market that we think is cool. And first up is Angie, and this is a cool one. So tell us what you got.
This is a really unique new build, Champion Ridge Monolani up on the Gold Coast, Hawaii Islands. We don't have a lot of new builds, and we don't have a lot of residential builds, period, in this development, in this resort development. This is listed at 7.25. Estimated date of completion for construction is early May. I just was up there last week. They're making really good progress, and that's still in sight. The location is second to none. It's really close to the beach, amenities, and Monolani is, a world-renowned resort. It's an amazing property.
Yeah, so if you're looking for an absolute diamond and you got $7 million, this is you can get a brand new house. And a lot of stuff up there too, and maybe you'll know better off the top of your head, Angie's like, there's not that much new stuff, right? There's a lot of kind of like older 20-year-old stuff that's been built up there. So if you want really modern and new, it's really limited, right?
Yeah, totally. That's really a selling point of this one. A lot of the homes in this development especially are pushing 20 years old. And what you see with that when you buy a 20-year-old home in this caliber, in this market bracket, you have a lot of deferred maintenance coming at you. And when that's on a 5,000 to 6,000 square foot, and you're changing flooring, high-end flooring and things like that, renovations end up being kind of a headache. And have a really big price tag. So it's a really big selling point that this is a brand new construction.
Love it. Awesome. So reach out to Angie, guys, if you need more details. All right, this is Wailea. What we got, Mike?
Okay. So I'm a dreamer. That's why I always bring you guys these very amazing properties. But this is probably my favorite property on the market on Maui right now. It is both a diamond and it is also a deal. So we've got 34 Ualei Place. It's located in Wailea. It's in an exclusive gated community of Palauea Drive. It's about a 2-minute drive to the beach and maybe a 5-minute walk to White Rock Beach here in Wailea. This property is ultra high-end luxury. Like I can't tell you how much I love this home. If I was in the market for a $16 million home, I would put an offer on this one in a heartbeat. It sits on 1 acre of land. It's a 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom home. It's 6,754 square feet. It has a 3-car garage. It's got an amazingly beautiful pool, grotto style pool in the backyard with a nice waterfall feature. And a really great part about this specific lot in that community is right to the south of it is 21 acres of protected reserve that'll never be built on. So if you're facing the ocean off to the left, you will never have neighbors ever. And I believe there's only one more vacant lot in that development, and that's right when you first walk in. You're farther up on the hill, so no construction will ever be an issue. The house also, each bedroom, each one of those 4 bedrooms is separated, so it's really like a resort style feel, and it boasts indoor-outdoor living. I'm not kidding when I say this is my favorite home on the market right now. It's listed by Paul Farrell from Coldwell Banker Island Properties. If you're in Maui and you can provide proof of funds for this and you would like to see this one, I'll set up a showing.
I love it. And it does seem like somewhat of a deal, because we have similar stuff like this in the Big Island that like pushes 20 million. So I mean, it does, it does seem very reasonable in terms of price.
So this is why it's a deal for a personal resort. So it was been on the market for 298 days, right? It was originally listed at 19,850. They've reduced it down to 15,999. So that's a $3.851 million price reduction.
Nice. There you go. There's your diamond on your deal. I love it. All right, what we got, Ronnie?
I guess in terms of the luxury agents here. By the way, have you asked Paul why he's working for an old-fashioned brokerage? Maybe because he likes nice houses like that. I don't know. This is Plantation at
Paul is a good friend of mine, and he's actually the one that set up the meeting with my old broker to go into Coldwell Banker. So maybe one day we'll get him to come over here.
This is Plantation at Princeville, 1311, priced at $1,099,000. To me, this is a deal. People looking for vacation rentals on the North Shore. This is one that could possibly cash flow depending upon how you purchase it. It's one of the nicest, if not the nicest location at this project, which has, 14, I think there's a total of 68 units in the complex. Was built in 2004, 2005. It's interesting. It was a funny market back then. Things were selling and then flipping again before the condos were even finished. And I hadn't experienced that before or since, actually. And it's a great location. You can see with that top photo, the open space in the backyard. There's only 1 or 2 units in the whole complex that are like that. And it's a good deal. And 43 condos listed in Princeville.
Safe for vacation renting, right?
Yeah, Princeville is within, Kauai calls it the VDA, so the visitor destination area. So you either live in the VDA or you got grandfathered in 2008 and you have what's called a TVNCU, Transient Vacation Non-Conforming Use Certificate. That's what you need when you look at a property on Kauai if you want to rent it for any less than 6 months.
Love it. Great stuff. All right, reach out to Ronnie if you need more information. And quick station break, and we got 4 minutes left. So we got 1 minute for the final closing thought. But just one more reminder: check out livinginhawaii.com. All new and rebuilt. Give us your opinion on the website, and sign up for the newsletter. That'll get you all the updates and all of the new content that we put out every week. All right. So closing thoughts. We got Angie up first. What do you got?
I've got faith and fear both demand you believe in something you cannot see. You choose. By Bob Proctor. The obstacle is the way, guys.
I love it. So good, right? So good. It's funny we don't ever coordinate this stuff, but then mine is kind of is somewhat similar to this or along the same theme. So I'll get to that. All right. Is this Ronnie or is this Mike?
That one's mine.
All right. There we go.
So you have the power over your mind, not the outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, and to love. And I don't know who wrote that quote. I used to have this app that would give me quotes from old philosophers. So some ancient person said that.
I love it. It's good. It's good.
Okay, right. Once you're centered and balanced doing what Mike just encouraged you to do, and if you do go to work and you're not retired, This is from Keith Cunningham. Keith wrote a book called The Road Less Stupid. I don't need to do more smart things. I just need to do fewer dumb things.
That's wisdom right there. I love it. All right, I'll wrap it up, guys. So this is from I went to a conference this past week, and one of the speakers talked about reality is neutral. It's a good reminder that only our perspective is negative or positive. So whatever happens around us is completely neutral, and it's all about how we react to it. And I think it's somewhat similar to what Angie's quote said. So always think about that when you have that negative reaction to something. It's really, you have the power to choose what your reaction is going to be and how you interpret things. It's all about our own perspective. So good stuff, right on time. Awesome show, you guys. Lots of good information. As always, if you're watching, you can always go to livinghawaii.com and submit questions, and we'll take those questions on the show, or you always can watch it live and put the questions in the platform of your choosing, and we will we'll take them. Always appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks on March 6th. Let's go down the line. Everybody say aloha. Kick it off with Ronnie.
Aloha. Happy Aloha Friday.
Angie?
Aloha.
Hey guys, happy Aloha Friday. Just remember, Maui is 50% off right now.
I love it. There you go. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Aloha.